Many memories came floating back. Zhu Haimei told everyone to make themselves comfortable. There were many people and not so many rooms, but they wouldn't have trouble squeezing in a bit. Yang Mi was excited to have more company and said they could all play board games together. Zhang Yi went to the living room to talk to his uncle and ask how the neighborhood was, if anyone was still alive or if everyone had already died, and if anyone tried to attack them and steal their resources from the neighbors, as they used to do. Uncle Yu replied that at first they came begging for food. After they got nothing, they tried to be aggressive, so this old man taught them a lesson. However, despite all this, there is still a group of people alive so far. So Zhang Yi was surprised and looked out the window, although he knew he wouldn't see anything, which made Yu continue his conversation and clarify that the people who survived so far were the residents of building number 18. Zhang Yi was surprised by his words and asked him if he knew more details about them or about the number of people who were still alive in this building. Uncle Yu replied that he didn't have knowledge of these things because he didn't communicate with them, although sometimes he saw them coming out and moving around the streets. Zhang Yi became excited and wanted to know how they were still alive like this, and decided to visit them as soon as possible. But first he explained everything about the missile threat from the leader of the Xishan mountain base. The poor guy just wanted to live a simple life with plenty of luxury and food. Why couldn't he? And when he finished speaking, he told him that he didn't believe Shinan really had rockets. Uncle Yu sadly replied that whoever has many things also attracts much attention because of it. Even he himself, who has much less than Zhang Yi, is constantly attacked by people wanting his resources. Our protagonist says he will stay out of his main base for a while until he has the strength to annihilate his new enemy. After this conversation, Uncle Yu continued to inform him that a strange group had appeared in their neighborhood recently and had not yet tried to attack them. This group calls themselves Servants of the Snow, while the girls play with Shinshin. The uncle talks about how at the time he underestimated these people, thought they were just crazy religious fanatics, but at the time they offered the possibility of increasing and training the uncle's powers. He was suspicious of them and refused, but this group went to another person in the neighborhood as well. As they talked, Zhang Yi looked out the window and noticed strange movements in this building, and to understand what was happening, he had to go see everything personally. And when he asked him if he needed help or something, Zhang Yi replied that it was not necessary. These people were all much weaker than him. The protagonist warned his girls that he was going to visit an old friend and they don't need to worry. He went to building 18, and without worrying about anything, he just shot up and drew Lin Jian's attention. The man, seeing this demon again, became terrified. This monster had returned. He went to his wife and son, not knowing what to do. His son, upon learning that person had returned, asked why they had to fight against this man. His furious wife said they should join together now and fight against him. Lin Jian, unlike them, calmed down and replied that even if all the residents of the neighborhood joined forces, they still wouldn't stand a chance. He told his wife to hide and protect their last hope. When Zhang Yi saw him, he told him that he missed him for a long time. The residents of the building came out to see what was happening through the windows, which surprised Zhang Yi because he didn't know that all these people were still alive. He immediately approached Lin Jian and asked him how he had done it. Lin Jian replied that the credit was his and of the seeds that the protagonist left behind before. Surprised, Zhang Yi asked if he was serious or joking with him because he thought it was impossible for these seeds to grow and be ready for harvest in less than a month, and it was impossible for them to grow from the beginning in this atmosphere. Zhang Yi activated his abilities and said that he felt another mutant nearby, but it seems that the reason Lin Jian was tense was another, so he apologized to Zhang Yi and killed him if he wanted to punish them for their failure. The residents started coming out of the building in large numbers, and seeing their leader in this position, they began to shout that he couldn't kill him. They wouldn't let the great leader who saved them all this time die in front of them. Some people stepped forward and said that if lives needed to be taken, he could take others, but their leader should stay alive. This left Zhang Yi very surprised at this loyalty to this person he judged weak in the past. Their looks were sincere, and they were willing to give their lives. He then calmed the situation and asked why they think he wants them dead. They told him that the baby he left in their care did not survive, knowing that the reason for all this fear was Ji Lemei's child that he wanted to get rid of. The reason they were afraid is that they believed the baby was important to him. Zhang Yi then explained to everyone that a baby surviving in such a terrible time as this would be a miracle. He knows very well that the death of the child was not due to their negligence. He is here to find out how they managed to survive. He wants to see these seeds with his own eyes. Lin Jian told him to enter the building with him to show him. As they were on their way, Lin Jian began to explain that they tried to plant the seeds he gave them several times, but failed completely and all the seeds died. However, everything changed after the group of people from the snow sect appeared and offered to help them. They made it clear that they should worship the snow god in return, so Lin Jian gained his power. Although it was painful at the time, he managed to survive and get his new power, which with his help, he can make the seeds grow inside his his body, so he is called the Plant Man. The products his body produces contain much higher nutrients than normal products and also grow quickly in any environment. Zhang Yi was surprised and asked him what he used as fertilizer to plant this because only his body couldn't produce so much food. Lin Jian replied that the sight might be a bit scary for him. Of course, Zhang Yi didn't care and entered the room immediately, finding a group of corpses growing plants on them, literally. Lin Jian explained to him that they used these bodies to fertilize the seeds, as there were many bodies in all the buildings around. Curious about this, Zhang Yi asked the number of rooms where they planted seeds in this way. There were 3 rooms so far, and they didn't need a larger amount at the moment. This idea of self-sufficiency is good and all, but if it continues like this, Zhang Yi warned that his body will not resist and will certainly die after a while. Lin Jian seemed to know this and accept this fact. Using his power made him feel a lot of pain, but he is willing to do anything to keep his wife and son alive here. Although Zhang Yi thought the idea of sacrificing himself was irrational, he was also impressed with his courage, so he asked if he could show his power now. Our selfish protagonist wanted to know if his power was considered natural, like his, or artificial, like those of the people from the military base. Also, he wanted to make sure if Lin Jian's power was specialized only in the growth of crops, or if it had any offensive use. Lin Jian was then willing to show his ability. By making a lot of effort, one of the seeds in his arm began to grow rapidly until it sprouted completely. Seeing this disgusting thing, Zhang Yi warned that it was enough. Just this effort took a lot of energy from poor Lin Jian. He went to the door and asked for help and grabbed another new plant. Thinking about what he saw, Zhang Yi was sure that this ability is very convenient to get food at this time, and if he had seen that this ability could be dangerous against him, our cruel protagonist would have killed Lin Jian right here and all his residents if necessary. After finding out everything he wanted, he left Lin Jian and his residents alone. The leader of Building 18, seeing the great villain leaving, thinks that this improvised proof worked, but their lives continue in Zhang Yi's hands. Our MC returned home, and now all that was left was to wait and see how things would unfold with the missiles before making any moves. He could only think of attacking if Liang managed to put a spy chip into the military base's computers. The new enslaved residents of the military base were being taken to their places of work. Many residents were outraged. A father cried as he said these people ate their food, took their homes, and killed his father and daughter. They are 100 times worse than Zhang Yi. Those who complained about the injustice of reality were punished with eternal rest. Anyone who doesn't want to meet the same fate must obey. The soldiers sent themselves as sacrifices to help. Now they must repay that with their work. Guys, I feel sorry for these people. They tried to do this to Zhang Yi before, but now they're tasting the same medicine. What do you think about this? While all this was happening, Liang was observing from afar. She knew the villagers who died would turn into yogurt, but then she decided to focus on the mission and went up to the 2nd floor, where she explained that there were 5 main sections, including the food and nutrition section. However, security on the 2nd floor was not as strict, as Leader Chen was more interested in the 4th floor. So, invading the control room seemed easy at the moment. As she approached the room, she looked around to make sure it was safe, but she was surprised by someone putting their hand on her shoulder. She was tense, ready to attack, but before she could do anything, the person began yelling at her to wait, claiming they were not an enemy. She realized it was one of her students named Tian. The boy was also surprised and asked why she had come back after fleeing. She came back to save him and his classmates. She asked how he managed to join the soldiers, and Tian explained what happened. People are taken to undergo experiments, and he was the only successful experiment among them all. People are put between life and death by methods that make him cry. Just remembering, those who survive can serve the base and have a better life, but in return, their vitality is drained when they use their powers. Liang was surprised and asked what he wanted to do. Tian said he not only wanted to leave the base, but also to get revenge on the people who tortured them and destroyed their lives. She then consoles her student and says there is hope to save those who survived and to get revenge. After agreeing on a strategy, he went to talk to the other soldiers and relayed the order that they should go ensure the protection of the control room. Meanwhile, Liang prepared to install the chip into the computers. We return to our villain at home. On this day, the period that base leader Chen Xinyan had given him to respond if he would serve him ended. When they make the Discord call, Zhang Yi replies that he will not ally with him and is not afraid. Upon hearing this, Chen Xinyan becomes furious and threatens to blow him up with his bunker and his family. Zhang Yi said he can do as he pleases and just wait for the consequences, and then hangs up the call. He felt that the talk about the missiles was real from Chen Xinyan's actions, but even so, it was impossible to join her. The important thing was just to find another place to live. However, all these thoughts were interrupted by a message from Liang. Liang, in which she said she had done her part of the deal and installed the spy chip in the computer. Now, all that was left was for him to fulfill his part and help her get her students out of the Zhishan base. Zhang Yi rushed to Xinshin and quickly told her that Liang managed to install the chip. This got the four-wheel girl very excited. She grabbed her car and drove to her computer. In a matter of seconds, even though she was working on a regular computer, she had accessed all the data from the enemy military base. Xinjin said no one could stop her. He approached to see what she had, and at that moment, the girl got wet. Zhang Yi wanted to know about the missiles. Could he access information about them? The girl then, accessing the conversations between the leaders of the city bases, and they were talking about sending missiles at a common enemy of the military. This scared the two of them, so Chen Xinyan's threat was real. This made Zhang Yi sad. Losing such an incredible bunker is very bad. The four-wheel girl then says she has a bold plan and asks if he's up for some fun now. The plan was to send the coordinates of the Zhishan mountain base as the target for the missiles to hit instead of their own bunker. This impressed Zhang Yi, and he asked her if she was confident they wouldn't be able to detect the change. Xinshin confidently explained how it would be done and that it was impossible for them to find out. The coordinates would be altered by her. Chen Xinyan's allies, thinking they were attacking the right place, wouldn't know anything. After the orders were sent, the four-wheel girl would cut communication between the two bases during the missile launch. Our villain protagonist asked Karen to examine the construction plans of the base to understand if it would be possible to destroy it. The girl said it couldn't be destroyed with a missile attack because the basey structure was extremely strong and extended 100 meters below the ground. This meant that not even missiles would be able to destroy it. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi was not satisfied. Not even this could destroy his enemy's base. He ordered Xinshin to proceed with the plan to launch the missiles over Chen Xinyan's base, and also wanted to know all the defense systems and weapons that the Zhishan base possessed. After making these requests and her saying she would do everything, Zhang Yi left the room without saying anything else. Karen didn't understand his intentions. Xinshin said he intends to personally attack the military base to eliminate them, but he is very cautious and not sure if he wants to risk so much for it. He went to think about it. Zhang Yi thinks that just because he has survived Leader Chen's attacks so far, he is safe. Despite the many risks, this may be the only opportunity to invade this base and eliminate his enemy. The protagonist convinces himself that even if the initial missile attack doesn't destroy the base, it will cause great panic inside. If he uses the half-ton he stole from the soldiers themselves to blow up this base from the inside, maybe he can destroy it. He is very motivated by his anger. If he can at least destroy his enemies inside that base, it will be enough for our favorite villain. He returned to his room and asked Xinshin to show him all the information he had asked for before. He wants to know about the defenses of the place and the abilities of the mutants there. Zhang Yi says that if there is at least a small opportunity, then they should try. But, in reality, he says they should assess their strengths first. If they are too different, then this idea is crap. The wheelchair girl smiles and says that's the Zhang Yi she knows. Our ingenious lowly girl gathered the information, and now he can see it. In the base, there are a total of 521 armed regular soldiers on site, along with 6 team leaders who are mutants, and about 50 soldiers who are mutants as well. And of course, there was a leader among them, Feng, whom Zhang Yi had previously defeated and was ranked S. As for the rest, only one of them had a B ranking, while the others were all ranked A or less than Feng, with only 1 ranking. This made Zhang Yi not worry too much, as he knew that the issue of rankings was not entirely accurate. The information the base had about ability holders and other military bases was limited, and certainly people's rankings would change drastically in the future, so Zhang Yi gathered all the information about the strongest mutants in the base and printed it, exactly as Karen suggested. Zhang Yi was sure that his allies could handle the powers of these people. Our villain ordered everyone to gather in the living room. With everyone there, he warned that he needed their help and wanted to know their opinions on the attack. After that, he turned to Uncle Yu and asked for his opinion, as he was the oldest and also had a military background. His uncle replied that after the losses their base suffered in their last attack on Zhang Yi, it would be impossible for them to agree to make a peace deal with him or leave him alone. Therefore, he thinks Zhang Yi was right and they needed to attack Zishan instead of sitting around and waiting for them to attack them. He would agree to fight with him to the end. He was determined to fight alongside his leader Zhang Yi to the end, without regrets. The protagonist asks what Chun thinks about this attack. The chubby guy wasn't confident they could face so many mutants and an armed army as well. Zhang Yi sat down and said that he didn't need to worry about that. They are outnumbered, but he will take care of all the common soldiers and weak mutants alone. Then he asks if Chun doubts that Zhang Yi is capable of eliminating all these enemies at once, and if Chun doesn't want to avenge the villagers from his village, who were all taken to this base. The embarrassed otaku says he doesn't care about those people and doesn't really know them, so he didn't want to attack. This response, without confidence, made the protagonist doubt if he was the most cautious person here. It seems this chubby guy is more. However, Chun says he will help with everything he can. Yes, thanks to his brother, Zhang Yi, he has food and a warm home and several wives in his room. If it's for his brother, he will bet everything on his decision. Zhang Yi says that's great, and the three men join forces. The otaku asks what the operation plan